no matter what direction we take this episode, it's gonna go wherever it's gonna go. And when it happens, it's like we can decide later how we want to edit it. Whatever, no matter what we say, we're gonna say it. So it's like we're both gonna be just fucking calling shit out in this episode. So like, if they want to, do any flagging of us or report us for saying shit, it is what it is.
Has used the phrase pregnant persons twice, and I think in response the department used the phrase birthing clinics. Is it the position of the department that men can get pregnant and give birth?
Senator,
I'm sorry to do this to you.
yeah, I mean, really.
But we need an answer. You are the Department of Health, but people put a lot of emphasis in this.
And you need to get pregnant and give birth, you need to have a functioning uterus. So whatever you call someone, and it's generally very unlikely that someone who is a man would have a uterus and give birth. So I think that's all we can really say.
So only biological women can get pregnant.
Well, you have to have functioning female reproductive organs to get pregnant and give birth. Yeah.
Which would limit it only to women, presumably. No. Okay. Have you ever been pregnant?
Okay.
Okay. So no, in any event, I'm sorry, I haven't quite finished. I haven't got. I've just got another question, Chair. I was actually going to ask the same question to the TGA, but I expect because in fact when the TGA responded to me about
Guys, welcome back on the MiddleWay, and on today's episode we are talking about the gay agenda, whether there is or there isn't a gay agenda. Now, I'm Crossy the Kid, and this is my co-host
Tommy Tells.
And before we get into the episode, I just want to say that I have a link in the bio if you guys are interested in merch, or if you're interested in other sorts of content, music and stuff that I do. Tommy Tells also has a channel by Tommy Tells, so if you want to suss out his music, he does great music. Now, like I said, before we get into the episode, I just want to mention that if you're new here, what we do every week is that we choose a topic and then we do some research and then we, release it. You know what I mean? So if you guys have any suggestions on a topic that is somewhat debatable, we can dive into that. And we like to think of ourselves as like kind of the mediator, but humans are always biased, so we're the middle way. We try to find the groove in between the biases and find a solution if we can.
That's what we do. That's what we
do here on the middle way. So yeah, let's get into it. So
done.
Here's the research video. Yeah, so that's it, man. It's a pretty wild video. It took me like 3 years to make this thing. Can you believe that?
3 years. Fuck, that is crazy.
3 years to make this thing, and I just kept delaying it, to be honest, bruv, because it's such a taboo subject, man. It really is,
man.
Bruv.
I won't lie. When this topic came up, this has kind of been different from all the other topics that we've done over these years. I'm not going to deny it. This has been a very different topic, and not just because this is one of our unique episodes over a stream, which, let's be honest, we rarely do episodes over a stream. Maybe sometimes, but we rarely do episodes over a stream. So doing it like this, and even just trying to get a guest for this episode, we knew it's going to be hard no matter which angle we got, whether it's going to be someone that was fully against a gay agenda existing or someone that was fully agreeing that there was a gay agenda. We knew that no matter which side they took, there was going to be dramas. It's too much of a topic to have anyone have like a neutral approach, especially nowadays. There's no, unfortunately, there's no even moderate position nowadays. You're either
Yeah, it's
this
either
side or you're
you,
that side.
yeah,
It's yeah,
that's very much politicized, bruv. And it's not like we could go into left politics and stuff like this, but we're talking about a specific region or specific subset of people in the left ideology, right?
it's very hard to get people on the right to be with the gay agenda. You're right. It's majority of the gay agenda is coming from the left wing, progressives, and those who call themselves liberals. I'd say.
Well, I mean, that's the big part of me making the video because for those of you that haven't watched the video, please check out my video beforehand just to get context of what I'm talking about. It might be a bit confusing because the way that I did the video and then got more information after I did the video was a bit hard to kind of condense all this information in a palatable form for people to understand my approach or my kind of like understanding, right? But basically, my take on everything is got to do with propaganda, right? Now, the reason why I say this, right, is because I think there's a strong difference between political ties and being gay, and there's lots of difference between the whole propaganda side of it, which is an agenda, versus being gay or being fucking trans or whatever it is that you are, bruv. Okay,
Yeah,
I just
100%.
want to point that out, right? Now, it's funny because we dived into the history of LGBT or whatever, right? But
Yeah,
really,
the
it's
video. Yeah,
gay history. You know what I mean? Throughout history, how gay people were treated, how in some societies they were socially accepted. There was no bad blood about any of this stuff. In fact, they were
yeah,
given a lot of big political roles, right?
yeah. I know.
And at
It's
some
wild.
point, like, I honestly think it has something to do with the AIDS crisis. I think that had a big impact on
A
this
little bit of a
whole,
turning point.
yeah,
Yeah,
this whole like
a bit of a.
hate regime sort of thing against gay people.
I think I'd say that, and another thing that really had a strong opposition to homosexuality was probably the what would be another really good example apart from that. Actually, the eugenics program. Yes, in the 20th century, radical ideologies coming out from the Western world were obviously in Western Europe and the US. They had through um, various schools of thought eugenicists that were basically attacking homosexuality because they believed that with Charles Darwin's evolution theory that people passed on gay genes and so they had to eliminate the gay genes. That was in the Western world. And then in the rest of Europe, it was like you have the Third Reich who puts them in camps. And then you have the communist countries in the Soviet Union where you have Joseph Stalin openly saying if anyone doesn't follow party doctrine, they get sent to a labor camp called a gulag. So it's really like in the 20th century, all these regimes just go on steroids, and then of course you have STDs, which again, after World War II, becomes an even bigger reason why they want to crack down on all forms of abnormal sexuality, they say, because it spreads germs. So like, let's crack down on it even further. So you've got a whole bunch of social reforms taking place, and you have a lot of sexually transmitted diseases, which becomes a bigger reason to stop gay sex or homosexual sex taking place throughout the world. More or less, one of the two big reasons, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say you're right. And I think it's kind of funny because like I mean, World War II, a big part of the book burning was burning the material for trans rights and burning the material for Marxism, which was also another, socialist movement, and it's ironic because you don't want to talk about like politics like that, but really because they've lumped all those people into one big role, bro, it kind of like comes into it. And another thing too,
Yeah, yeah.
like it's hard to define when the I guess the big kind of shakeup is, you know what I mean, in terms of this left versus right, because it's always been like that since politics has been around, right?
Since
But
modern politics has always kind of been more or less a thing between the what they refer to as the political spectrum. It's always been like bouncing back and forth ever since modern politics became a thing. So, what with the LGBT, right? Is that LGBT plus Q?
well, I think that's another thing too. We should probably research this a little further. I don't know
No,
how
I've
far the
done
plus goes, bruv, because they
the
don't
plus is a
define it.
bit.
The plus is adding whatever they can attach to the next one, right? And
Yeah,
that's another thing too. This is what I find fascinating, bruv, right?
yeah, it's a bit.
Intersex people are part of this shit. How the
I've heard
fuck
that.
is
Yeah,
some medical, like literally a medical mutation, a part of your movement, bro? That makes no sense, bruv. You know
it's
what I
not. It's
mean? Like, if you are born with a dick and a fucking vagina, how the fuck are you seen as the same as gay? You know what I mean? Like, literally, you. That's another thing. I've made so
it's
many jokes
I
about
know.
this shit, but
Yeah.
it's just interesting. Like, if you say, for example, if you're a they them, right,
Mm,
and you've been born a female, but you're a they them, and then you go out
mm-hmm.
with another female,
Yeah.
right? Does that
Uh-huh.
make you a lesbian, or does that make
Mm,
you gay, or what does that make you, right? And if I'm going out with a they them, right, and
mm,
they're a woman, right, in terms of their, sex, right, does
mm.
that make me straight, or does that make me gay? Because
It
technically
just
they don't define themselves as that, right? And that's another thing that is very confusing when it
it's a
comes to
never-ending
adding
rabbit hole.
shit.
It's a never-ending rabbit hole. But it is good that we brought up so like what is LGBT and when it first got, when we first came across it. You first came across it when you mentioned the Mardi Gras thing back in New South Wales and Sydney. They had Mardi Gras and whatnot.
Yeah, like
I
when I was like the
yeah,
first. Okay, so let's dive into this, right?
sure, sure.
My first experience, I guess, with knowledge about people that you know was mainly, it wasn't really about trans people. It's just like, oh, your uncle, he likes guys. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. I have friends that like, I like my
Yeah.
friends. No, 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 it's not like that. It's different. They do stuff
Uh,
that men and women do. Like that was how I was like
yeah.
taught about this shit. You know what I mean? Like my dad was like, you know how you have a dick and a ball. You know have dick and a balls, right? Okay, so women, they have that inside out. You know what I mean? So that's how he described sexuality to me, right? And then he goes, "This is your uncle. Well, he doesn't like to go with girls. He likes to go with men." That was it. And then when I turned like 14, maybe 15, we'd go out to Mardi Gras, and it was mainly just, oh, we're hanging out with our friends to have drinks. Like it wasn't like this or that. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, oh, cool, they were different. You know what I mean? Like that was it. It was the only time that it really became like a thing where you're like, oh, well, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, then you just go, oh, hey, well, you try to figure out who you are as a person, right? And that was the whole arc of figuring out who I was, and I was like, I'm not a part of that, but I'm not against them. You know what I mean? They do their thing, right? But that was my kind of journey with that, right? But then
So you kind of
it was different for different generations. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
of course. Like
My dad was like,
yeah,
it was
it
kind.
happens. It happens.
Yeah, he was
Like
just like, oh, my neighbor is this, whatever. I'm not judging, but I think it's fucking weird. Like that was
yeah,
it. You know what I
yeah.
mean? There was no fucking hate about it, and that's how
Not
most
fair.
people are that come from the 80s and the
Well,
90s, bruv. Maybe
well,
even
that
the
was yeah.
70s, bro. You know?
It's like it's explained that way, but I won't deny it. Coming from a migrant background, at least on white, predominantly my dad's side, he, as you can imagine, being baptized in the Roman Catholic Church, there's a very clear definition on homosexuality and what it represents, and not just because of my Catholic upbringing, what the view on that was, but also because my old man said when I got mentioned one time on TV, they had what's his name, the fucking singer, I just forgot the dude's name, the Rocket Man, who I can't believe I forgot.
John.
Elton John, thanks, man. Fuck, I forgot it. Because of that, my mom said, nah, fuck, they're all faggots. Fuck them. Fucking weird, fucking gay, fucking faggot fucks, poofters, fucking weirdos and stuff. And mom's like, oh, come on, Tony, you can't say that about them. You can't, nah, they're all fucking weird, fucking faggots that suck dick. They take it up the ass. They fuck each other. They're all fucking weird, fucking gay, faggot fucks. It's like
that was your first definition of like finding out what these people,
it's like Elton John. Finding out what Elton John was. He was a sick, weird, demented, gross, dirty dude that liked to touch other dudes and have other dudes touch him.
Great artist, though. He's a great artist. I
He makes good music.
You know what I mean? I think, like, just so you know, if Elton John, if you're watching this shit right now, you make amazing music, bruv. You know what I mean?
No hard feelings.
You know,
got no hard feelings at all.
Same
just
as
first time.
Freddie Mercury, amazing.
Yeah, first time it came across and it was mentioned. It just happened to be that you're one of the most distorted, sick, weird perversions, apparently. But again, that was just the first time coming across it.
So wait,
and
you were watching TV and he came on, and then your dad's like going on this big like rant.
Straight up, like, nah, take this fucking gay faggot shit off my screen. Like, I don't want to see this shit. It was pretty. I remember, like, he said, and then he went on a rant about how there was some fucking this gay guy that he knew from years ago, and he was a weird cunt and all this shit. And I'm like, yeah, fair enough. Like, okay, so they do. And I remember I was like, oh, that is kind of gross. I was like, yeah, that's a bit fucking gross. Ew.
How old were you when this happened?
Yeah, I think it was around the same age yourself. I was in my teens or some shit, or like early teens or something. And then there was also don't get me wrong, like when we were at school, like I remember primary school, some of the boys would just say like, oh, that's gay, man. Like, the whole, if it was really lame, they would just say, oh, dude, that's gay. That's gay.
A joke about that too,
you kiss boys, man. That's a bit gay. And it was like, we heard that, but we all joked about it. And it was like, I think it was like in my final year. It was just sometime in primary school. Like, everyone was just doing shit. And it's like, oh, if a boy kisses a boy, that's gay, man. Don't want to be gay. Or he's got pink school bag. He's fucking gay. He's gay. And it was like everyone started going.
My brother at school, and they were like, "You're gay." I'm like,
yeah,
my fucking brother. What the fuck? I'm hugging my brother. I haven't seen him in a while. You know what I mean? Like,
I know, it's like anything that represents like a dude that's displaying affection for another dude, or happens to be a bit, any emotion, or even a bit feministic towards some girly stuff. It's like, that man is gay. He is gay. Gay. And it was like, it's kids. So it's just kids doing whatever.
It's like, but like you were saying before, right? About the whole "that's gay," Like, I had this joke where I was like, it's funny because if you grow up in the 90s, right, and you say that's gay, right, it means it sucks, right? And then if you grow up in this generation, you say that's gay, it's like, still means that sucks, but it's attached to somebody else,
Yeah. And then if you say it's gay before World War One, you're meant to be happy. We got feelings that we're gay. Yeah. It's like, it's meant to be a happy thing. So it's like, that song I did a remix of, the Federal, When Johnny Comes Marching Home, and it's like, Johnny will be happy and gay, and it's like the lyrics in the song, he'll be feeling happy and gay. It's like it's a description that he'll be feeling filled with joy because being gay was meant to be like a really good ecstatic feeling of joy. That's what being gay was. He'll be full of gay and glee, like he'll be happy, and it's like it's not because he wants to go around having sex with all the Confederate soldiers. No, he doesn't want to have sex with all the Confederates and all the Union soldiers and shit. It's because he's generally in a really good mood. And it's funny because in that song they also say when all the girls will see him when he comes marching home, it's like so he's going to be happy and gay because he sees a whole bunch of girls. It's like you see, look at how the lyrics are.
Even like in England, right back in the day, oh, pass me a fag. You know what I mean? like that was common, bruv. You know, like
Exactly.
even they got candy still out now called fads, right?
I
They used to be
know.
called fags, right?
Fags.
Until this whole fucking movement turned cancel culture. You know, they're called fads now, and they're pretty much like a stick that looks like a cigarette. You know.
And then you get a whole bunch of them together as a big pile of sticks. It's called a faggot. If you get a whole bunch of pile of sticks together, you call it a faggot.
It's true though. Wordplay, like that's what birds call it. You know.
A bundle, a faggot. I got a faggot right here. Like I got a bundle of a faggot. Like they keep changing the definition.
That on fucking marketplace. I got faggots for sale.
And you click on it, and it's like you have two things. You're gonna have one dude. It's like, oh, I need a pile of sticks. I need these faggots. And then you got some gay guy like, ooh, I wonder if I can get myself one of these. And it's like it's just a pile of sticks. And it's like, huh? Where are my fellow fags? Like, no, I'm just like fucking. Like you can see that it gets to a point where they change the definition, and because they keep changing the definition,
it's happening now. Like you said, like they went from, look, like I said, bro, it's evolving, right? This whole thing is evolving. It went from Stonewalls, right? They go, oh, we need rights, you know, and then it goes from there, like, oh, the lesbians need rights too. Like, fuck yeah, let's watch porn. You know what I mean? Like, we support women, you know. And then it went from there. They're like, oh, well, let's throw boys in there that are uncertain about which way they want to go. Right? And they're like, oh, we don't really like them, but fuck it. They're still a part of our community, right? And then you went to gay guys that wanted to play characters, right? Which was cross-dressing, you know? And cross-dressing turned into drags and stuff like that, right? And then from there, bruv, in my opinion, maybe I am wrong, right? From there, they go, you know what, we calling ourselves trans, and we're transitioning. We're having surgeries to transition. And then it went from that, that was a social, like, in my opinion, that was the socially kind of acceptable thing. If they went through the transition, you called them a trans person. Why? Because they went through a transition to change into their different personality or whatever, right? They actually committed to the point where they had the surgery, right? Now, you literally can look like me and just say the word and people will be like, okay then. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy, you know? And then it went from that to, like, adding all this other shit, like intersex and asexual. Like, how did an asexual, a person who has zero sexuality, join a sexual movement? You know what I mean? That's insane to me, bro.
They wanted increased representation, and the reason they did this is because in the in the 19th century, society had a very big shift. So, as we said, sexuality has been something that's always it's the whole gay agenda thing, because obviously transgenderism they're claiming now, which is, I saw a Vice doco on it. I got barely like 20-30 minutes into it, but it basically just said that as you were going with the LGBT, it gets from lesbians, gays, bisexuals, cross dressers, and then they go to trans. And it's at that point they're like, transgenders is the greatest of all natural phenomena. And I'm like, what's so great about someone that suddenly decides to change and transition their gender? What was so phenomenal about it, right? But of course, having done the research now, we come across this term hermaphrodite, yeah? Have you heard of the term hermaphrodite?
That's what an intersex person is a
That is,
hermaphrodite.
yeah.
But they
The word
changed the name.
yeah. The word hermaphrodite comes from the Greek word hermaphrodites, and it basically it means is that you get an individual that's supposed to have, or one of these deities in the old Greek mythology that's meant to have two sexes or two spheres of sexualities at once. So both a masculine and feminine part in the one body. A hermaphrodite is someone that has two sexualities at the same time, more or less. That's what a hermaphrodite is according to the ancient Greeks. And it's an androgynous being, but can also have two sexualities expressed. And that at times they claim, and it's very rare, that some people are born and, yes, they have a penis and a vagina at the same time. And if they're at history, just randomly come across some people are born with an undeveloped clitoris underneath their penis. And they have referred to that as a biological term. They've called them a hermaphrodite. And it's happened, and that's where the Greeks got it from. And they created the term for it, and it keeps popping up randomly. It's like 1 out of every 100,000 people, or 1 out of every 1 million people are born with a penis, and then an underdeveloped clitoris that's underneath it.
Yeah, but
And
I've asked just for curiosity purposes for
Yeah,
people
yeah,
that
sure.
want to know and stuff. I've asked hermaphrodites or intersex people, right? If I'm pretty sure they're the same thing, but if they're not,
Oh,
please write in the
there's.
comments, you know what I mean, right?
I can tell you. I can tell you off the bat.
Okay.
There is a significant difference, like between. But when you say intersex, you said intersex, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. Intersex is more hermaphrodite. If someone who is transgender and saying it, that's not like someone who
that's
is
what I'm
intersex is
saying.
yeah. Yeah,
That's what
keep
I'm
going.
saying.
Yeah,
Intersex and hermaphrodites are the same sort of thing.
yeah,
If
pretty
not,
much. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Okay, so here's the thing, right? They don't function, like both of them don't function, right? So
yeah.
they can't get themselves pregnant, right? For one, because one functions, the other one doesn't function. So meaning, like, I hate to give this definition, but just like imagine, like something like this, they can't go like that. You get what I mean? They can't do that. They can't like and get themselves pregnant. You know what I mean? And I don't want to use the word, but you get what I mean. You're getting the gist, okay? Right? Inseminating yourself, okay? They can't do that
self-inseminate.
stuff, right? They can't do
No.
that. And also, on top of that, right? Yeah, I think one feeling is less than the other. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. And then if you go to like the whole idea of when we are born and how the clitoris turns into a dick, and that's how you become a man, and we're all female at first. You know what I mean? And then we become males. You know what I mean? Some of us, you know, like
Yeah.
there's that whole aspect there. You know what I mean? In
Yeah.
terms of evolution. But there's a massive difference between
Well, yeah.
hermaphrodites and trans.
There's a point. Yeah, there's exactly a very good point that you've said there. The key thing is that with the so-called the male-leaning hermaphrodite, it's that it's a dude that's got a dick, but he's born with a vagina underneath it. With the female version of the hermaphrodite, she's born with a vagina, but she has an underdeveloped penis inside of the vagina and two testicles that haven't fully descended yet. Two testicles in the body that never fully descended. So basically, as you said, they're both non-functioning. Whether it's the male-leaning hermaphrodite, the penis can't self-inseminate in the clitoris, and if it's a female-leaning hermaphrodite, the testicles have not descended and the penis is inside the uterus. So it's, as I know it sounds a bit weird, but of
That'd
course
be
it's
such
just,
a weird experience for whoever's,
yeah,
you know, having fun with
yeah.
that person. Could you imagine that? You know, like,
It'd be a
oh,
bit.
who else is in here? You know, fuck, bro. Anyway,
it's a bit,
just thinking out
it's a bit
loud,
of a
bro.
stretch.
You know,
It's two testicles that haven't fully descended, a underdeveloped penis that's basically inside the clitoris, and then of course the other version, as I said, it's a penis with a clitoris underneath it. So it's just the two main versions of a hermaphrodite. There's also been situations where some people have been born with two vaginas, and some people have been born with two penises.
what a
They sound.
curse and a joy at the same time.
You can
You know,
imagine.
man.
You could absolutely imagine. The thing that comes after the hermaphrodite part is, well, again, there's other individuals, and this is more like there's obviously just sexuality. So that was just a gender part of it. To quickly get to the next part is just that there's another individual that's got an XXY chromosome. Now, I've tried to look at the different versions of it, but for the most part, males have an XY chromosome and females have an XX chromosome. There are some hermaphrodites that have an XXY chromosome, and basically, yeah, I believe for the most part it's meant to be male orientated, but in other words, it's it's allegedly an
Third gender.
individual. It's meant to be an individual that has, which is, it's it's like they have allegedly fully developed breasts and they have female body parts, but they're a dude. And that's meant to be, but they are sterile. They're sterile, or at least it's expressed that they're sterile. It says that they can't really do much. So it's just, there's dudes born, like I said, there's those born with different sexual parts, and then there's those that have an XXY chromosome. I'm not trying to necessarily go too big on this, but that is probably a case where if someone chose to say I'm a transgender, they can potentially make a fair argument for that.
No, I get that,
However,
but the
yeah,
trans and the trans and intersex thing are completely different.
yeah,
But
the trans and intersex thing are different, yeah.
I want to ask you a
Because
question, right?
go for
And
it,
I'm
go.
pretty sure that you're gonna go,
Tangent.
like on a tangent. So I'll just jump in before you do. But I was just gonna say, do you think that the idea of gender and sexuality should be two different movements?
No, sexuality is gender. Sex is
Sexuality
gender.
is well, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So the idea to lump them together. So say, for example, in my opinion, I believe that gay rights and trans rights completely different movements. I
Yep.
believe that. I honestly believe
Yep.
that. So that when I say
Yep.
that, so sexuality and gender, right? How
hmm
you choose to identify, how you do this, blah blah blah. You know,
hmm
because to be honest, bruv, you know, like you have people that are on one side that fucking hate that fucking side of it. You know what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean?
Hundred
That's why they
percent.
don't
Yeah.
follow it. You know what I mean? And then
hmm
you have the same thing on the other side. They go, they don't like them, but they support the movement because they, you know, feel supported in this movement. And I see it as that way too, bro. Because now it just seems like it's more of a trans movement than it is a gay movement. You know what I
That's it.
mean?
What they refer to is that the goalposts have shifted once again. The goalposts have shifted. So it's always the goalposts keep changing. They keep moving the goalposts forward. They keep lowering the bar. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so in the video, right, that I made, it might have been a bit confusing, at least me trying to be retrospective of the message that I was trying to send in the video. My approach is I think there's a strong element of this idea of cancel culture, victim mentality, and going along with this kind of like hiding pedophiles. It's not just gay people that are doing this shit, but they're hiding underneath the banner of this shit, and it's happening all over the world. And they're pushing more and more and more of this stuff inside schools, right? But if you say any of this shit, cancel culture, just like this video is probably going to happen, you know what I mean? You get cancelled. Cancelled for what?
Get cancelled for being like not gay.
No, just not agreeing with it. Like,
it's not agreeing with it.
It's like, okay, how can I say this, right? You know, like, I said the same thing in the video about there's a difference between an agenda or the politics compared to what they actually fucking do, right? And that's what I wanted to get across. And I think the idea behind the trans movement and the idea behind LGBTQ, from my understanding, right, is to destroy the nuclear family. Oh, you said that. Oh, that's horrible, right? A lot of conservatives have said this for a long time, right? And I was like, I don't know, you know, like we try to adapt, you know, we you know, there's a lot of people, straight people that have babies, they don't look after them, you know, they need somebody to look after them. Sure, you know, adopt them to a gay couple that will look after them, right? But statistics show that a lot of them don't look after the kids, bro. It's just a weird kind of analogy. But what do you do to all these kids that are in orphanages, right? And on the flip side, you know, like if you're saying you want to be with God and you're a Christian, Muslim, Judaist, whatever, you know what I mean? Like if you're any of the faiths, right? It's a very weird line to walk on, because in a way you're going against God's plan. And if God's plan is for you to, I guess, not just have a baby, but I think that's a big part of the whole plus and minus. Like if girls are minuses, guys are pluses, you know, like
it's
biology wise, you're meant to connect, whatever, blah, 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 you know?
It's more or less like the first point you were making about the political aspect, and then just, you know, people doing their thing, which is you've got two people, for whatever reason, you know, they see their attraction in each other, be it male, female, they see each other, and in this case, of a homosexual way, you got two dudes that look at each other and be like, oh yeah, you know, whatever. Or you get, you know, two ladies that are like, oh yeah, you know, whatever. And then what do? They go run off somewhere and they have a bit of fun, or whatever the hell it is. There's that. Then it gets to a point where, why is it every day I'm at work they have a rainbow flag in my face? At every step of the way, in every hallway, every window, every brochure, even just opening the office, like the lunchroom fridge, and they put a whole bunch of gay flags all over the fridge. It's like, so now what? Am I eating gay food? Am I, you know, it's like everything is just gay. And I don't mean to like condescend to them or patronize them for that, but where did we get to a point where two dudes want to go off and mind their own business and have a bit of fun, to we're going to put gay flags in a primary school? Yeah, like you put from two dudes to gay flags in primary schools. How did we get to this point? It's like, it's fucking, you know, I don't even. It's fucking wild.
It's a good
wild,
point you
man.
make, right? Because,
yeah,
you know, like, how can I say this? Like, when I was growing up, right, they would have the Mardi Gras, right? Once a year, they'll have Mardi Gras in Sydney, and you'd go there, and it would just be a whole bunch of floats. You know, some people would be naked or whatever. They'd make out with each other, but that was it, bro. We'd have one fucking day of the week, bro. You know, to support these people, right? And then it changed from that to like, we have flags in the classroom. We have a dedicated counselor to deal with these issues for these kids that's suffering from this. We have gender reform for children. You know what I mean? Like,
it's
what
pretty
the
weird.
fuck is that? And it's
got
irony,
weird as.
right? They're literally putting this in churches now. You know what I mean?
I know.
Everything is changing.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's
like,
bad.
why are they doing that? Why? Is
They
it
wanna
all
make you
about
gay.
acceptance? Or is it all about coercion? Or is it all
They want
about
to make
brain
you gay.
control? What is it about?
They want to make you super gay.
Yeah, they want to make everyone gay, bro.
They want to make everyone super fucking gay. That's why. But in all seriousness, you're not wrong. Where you mentioned earlier about the nuclear family, how there's definitely something there in regards to what happens with sexuality. But the big thing from the historical narrative that people kept overlooking is that when it comes to homosexuality itself, right, being the gay agenda, homosexuality is present in almost every life form. Every life form with a gender, not single-celled amoebas. Every sentient being has a male and female gender can actually engage in homosexual relationships. Every sentient being does this.
Yeah, and
They've seen
not a
dogs
mental
do it.
illness. It's not a mental illness that they used to say back in the day. You know what I
Well,
mean?
you see,
Like,
this
even
is the
before
part
then,
that,
they weren't even noticing that. But anyway,
yeah, that's this the whole thing. It's like there's so much distortion with what it is. Having looked at, as you said before, the historical part of it, how societies, not just in the ancient world, throughout the medieval world and whatnot, in all parts, they were like they said, don't do too much gay shit, but they're like everyone's do like like people did it. You had quite common as is the ultimate. Everyone does it to the Greeks, but it's not to rip into the Greeks. But
Greeks are the
yes,
most
I,
recorded history of
yeah,
all.
Greeks. There's been much evidence, overwhelming in fact, to suggest the ancient Greeks were well known for having lots of gay sex. Like the ancient Greeks would have lots and lots of continuous gay sex and orgies all the time. They were well known for doing it. In terms of the ancient world, it was quite common that, you know, Greek soldiers. In fact, guess what? You've heard of that movie 300, yeah?
Yeah.
The Spartans, yeah. The one part they didn't put in the movie was that before they got into every battle, they would literally have gay sex before getting into a battle.
Well, there's
They,
only one way
yeah,
to really know you got your fucking friends back, bro. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, I had his back last night. I have his back in the war. You know, like that's what they do,
hey,
right?
you tell you what, the bonds, they're a lot more than the bonds are more than balls deep. That's for sure.
Yeah.
They're definitely a lot deeper
But
than that. So,
here's the
hey,
thing, though. You know, like the deeper you go into history, though, right? You go about the way that things were in ancient times, and then when it turned
Christian
to
part of it,
eugenics,
medieval, yeah,
the medieval times, but also
medieval
like
Christian part, yeah,
the ancient Greece, you know, ancient if you go ancient Africa, if you go ancient
yeah,
Egypt, like all these periods of time, right?
mhm,
It was
yeah,
pretty common. It wasn't really like even in Japan it was massive. You know what I mean? Like it was a
yeah,
massive thing.
yeah,
But
exactly. Buddhist monks would do it, yeah.
at some point, like we got to this point where people were fighting to have a flag and to have like you had the stonewalled gays where they went out
Mm,
and they would protest, to say we have rights, we deserve to have rights, and that was fucking awesome. Props to them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they spoke their mind and they got rights and they made a movement out of it, right?
Hmm.
But then the movement goes, we're not strong enough, and we have to add extra shit to it. They went
Yeah.
from gay rights to trans rights to fucking asexual rights. Do you know what I mean?
Now
They
we're gonna.
lumped everything together. Like,
They're getting to a point where they want to do shit. These are three things where they're going to cross the line. They want to make bestiality rights so they can have sex with your animals now. Then, if that wasn't weird that they're going to do bestiality rights, they're going to do incest rights so you can have sex with your siblings, and you're going to be allowed to marry your siblings.
all
So
maps.
if yeah, and then last but not least, if you weren't satisfied fucking your dog, and if you weren't satisfied fucking your sister or your brother, now you can literally get the whole pedestry rights where they're going to make it you can basically go around and have sex with 3-year-olds. And it's like, where do they draw the fucking line?
Yeah,
They
where is the
don't.
line
They
with
they
this?
don't draw the line, and that's where we're at now. They're debating. I think just recently at the UN, they said some shit like they're gonna consider either bestiality, incest, or they're gonna consider pedestry, which is basically child loving, and it's like what the fuck, like. This is this is gone from like 1 to 100 in less than 100 years.
Yeah,
Like, and people are taking a step back and saying they went from a gay marriage, right? They went from a gay marriage, and if that was already considered too much for some right wing traditional conservatives, now you've given them an inch. They've taken a
I
mile,
know.
and they want to literally. Some of them want to fuck their pets. They want to have sex with their German shepherds. They want to have actual sex with their siblings, and some of them want to. Yeah,
Some of them want to even pretend to be a pet and have sex with each
yeah.
other.
They want to
Furries.
pretend to be pets.
You know what I mean? Like, this is the thing. Like, it's
What the fuck?
there was a shift that happened at
Oh,
some point, right? There was a shift that happened from that to marketing it everywhere, bro. I think I seen it the first time I seen it like proper, like everywhere. It's maybe 2017 or 2018. It was the first time I seen it everywhere, bruv. Like, there was posters for it in the school. There was posters on the fucking bus, bro. And it just every year it just got more and more. And I was like, what the fuck is this, bro? Like, to be honest, man, like, I've seen cross dressers and shit growing up, I just thought they were like
stresses.
funny
Yeah,
characters, right? And
yeah,
then you seen a drag person, and most of the time when you see a drag person, they're performing in a club for other gay men, bruv. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And then
It's
it went
just in a
from that,
club. Yeah.
they go, oh, hey, you know what we should do? We should do this in front of children. Like,
It's a
what?
bit. Yeah. It's fucking how did
What?
they get to this point? Like what changed in their mentality or movement that suddenly went from we're not satisfied with just having our own little gay bar, and now we want to enter a classroom and a kindergarten and have to start grooming all the kids. Like, why are you having to groom the kids? What necessity is it within you guys that you have to go into primary schools, kindergartens, and play centers and start indoctrinating young children? How did you get to this fucking point? It's like, are you surely doing this for your so-called liberate sexuality thing, or are you honestly just one of those kitty fiddlers? Are you a predator? Like, are you actually a fucking predator? Like, just, I think it'd just be a lot easier to say that there's a lot of teachers in the education system that are they should probably have their
Questionable.
hard drives
Questionable.
fucking checked. They should probably have their hard drives checked. I'll say that.
And
And while I'm at it, I'm also just going to say there's a lot of politicians in the world that should have their hard drives checked too, you know? I'm just saying because you heard about the P. Diddy thing, yeah? The P. Diddy thing a day ago?
No,
You heard
I
about
haven't heard much about P Diddy since he got arrested with all the baby oil.
He got 4 years for what he got 4 years.
He got 4 years, bro.
4 years for what he did. 4 years.
It does not
4
surprise.
fucking years.
That's another. It's another topic on its own. Do you know what childism is?
Childism.
Yeah.
All right. Well, while we're at it, spill the beans. I hope it's not too
So
intense.
in the video, right? In the video, I showed a brief thing about it, but basically, there's and again, right? This is from your side, liberal side.
Oh yeah,
guys,
keep going,
right?
keep going, keep
But
going.
anyway,
Yeah.
there's this psychologist, right, in America. There's two things, right? One, there's a psychologist in America that says childism, and childism is basically when a child, right, can give permission or consent to anything that you decide to do, right? And the way that they introduce this is like, can I change your nappy today? Right? Can I do this? Can I do that? Right? And the idea of this, right, is that, you know, you don't force your kid not to do whatever they don't want to do, right? The idea, right? But then it sounds very sinister to turn around and to put into a courtroom, well, they gave me consent. You know what I mean? Like, that's fucking insane. And then on the flip side to this, right? On the flip side to this, right? They have this thing to do with maps, right? There's a psychologist where they were talking about minor attracted people, right? And this is what they're trying to do when they're trying to put it into office, right? What they're trying to do is they want to say that if people come out as a pedophile, doesn't mean they're offending pedophile, but they have an attraction to these kids, right? So therefore, right, they can be protected as long as they don't offend. But it's like
they claim that,
like that's what they're saying. But it's like saying a drug addict that is in rehab because they're a drug addict, right? And the whole point of the rehab is to make them stay clean. But
or
they're
even
around other
one
drug
further,
addicts that want to fucking do drugs, bro. Like,
or even one further than that, a psychopath that keeps going to his therapist and drawing paintings of him stabbing people and chopping their heads off and saying, I want to do this in my dreams. It's like, and then what? They're going to give the same method to him too? No, the psychopath gets put in an institution. The fucking drug addict potentially, if not taken to one of those psych wards, it gets put into rehab or gets taken into an institution too. And then with these maps, to them, it's like, okay. You're like, you out of your fucking mind? Like, why is it that when it comes to a psychopath admitting, I like to kill people, I just really want to hurt people, I just want to set them on fire, I want to stab them in the neck, I want to chop their heads off, I want to burn them alive, I want to rip out their guts. It's like, okay, there's jail. Alright, but no. When it comes to maps, it's like, kids, it's like, we'll just, that's okay. And then you look at, propaganda from the 1950s, and it's like saying, this person is mentally ill. And it's just institutionalized in a mental. It's just back then they went straight to the mental asylum, straight to a padded room with actual electrodes in their brain. Just
lobotomies.
Until they are you still attracted to kids? Yes. Are you still attracted to kids? That's not good enough. Like, how do we go from that shit to that's okay. We'll tolerate that. What the fucking?
Well, I mean, like,
distortion.
How
it's distorted.
It's it's pretty interesting how like society is kind of gone around that too. Because look, like I said, if you start it from the beginning, right? Why do they want to do this? They want to be openly who they are in public, right? That's why it's called identity politics, because they wanted to be openly who they are with less shame, right? That is the whole, I guess, idea behind why
Connotation.
it started. Was like,
Yeah,
this is acceptance, accept that we don't want to feel ashamed for doing whatever, right? And that's why it
that's it.
started, right? And then that same thing
Yeah,
became like a guilty little fucking how can
pleasure.
I say
Like,
it's
yeah,
like not it's not even guilty pleasure, bro. Before it was a guilty pleasure. Now that it's
yeah.
morally it's like socially accepted. It's not that. It's a different thing. It's become
Is
like
it?
a victim pattern, right? Where it's like,
Yeah,
like how can I say this? Like if you're in, right, or whatever, if you're in this group, whatever it is, right, then you have to agree with everything that they say, right? Everything that they do. And they will keep adding more shit to it to make the movement bigger, right? But what is the end point, right? Like,
the
is there an
the
end point? And if there
well,
isn't a
that's
gay
like
agenda, is it just about acceptance? Is it just about
I
this?
think
You
I
know?
think the end point is like I said before, how they're reaching those three stages where if they can basically do their own pets, if they can do their own siblings in incest, so if they can do their own pets in bestiality, if they can do their own siblings in incest, and they can finally get to 5-year-olds and do open pedophilia at the point where they can go into school, they can teach a 5-year-old how to play with a I watched a video about it. It was so distorted, but I had to get through it. They're going to teach a 5-year-old how to play with like a rubber dildo. They're then going to give him a homework sheet about how to talk about his erections, and then they're going to make him cross-dress in class while chemically castrating him, and then talking to his teacher about to have gay sex and with his classmates. You're at the point where, bruh, it is, if like God has a reset button, just push
I don't even think it's that.
reset this shit because it's. But that's I think that's the end goal. They just
Nah.
want to. I think the end goal for them is that they, at least
To
from
be more
perspective
degenerate,
wise,
is that what the idea? To be
I
more and
really
more
do
degenerate?
believe that their ultimate end goal is to basically reach a point where they can openly engage in the most distorted, twisted, perverted, degenerate act with absolutely no consequences
Repercussions.
or repercussions for doing it. I think that's their ultimate goal because I looked at this thing, right? I know the religious narrative because, again, as it's in particularly the Abrahamic text, is that I think is it Leviticus? A man shall not lay with man. Is that what it's Leviticus? I believe
Yeah, I'm
something
pretty
like
sure.
that. Yeah, Leviticus is like a man. When a man lay with a man, it's an abomination, and that becomes the whole gay shaming or whatever. It has reached the point where at the end of the at the end of the 19th century, at the turn of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, you have a whole bunch of people entering this new world of the 20th century just before World War One, because that's when, at least from looking into it, that's when shit really kicks off. Because prior to World War One, it was spoken about by other groups, but it was never mainstream. It was never like you going out and having like gay parades and Stonewall, whatever. This did not happen
It was
before World
very in the
War One.
shadows.
Yeah, it was in the shadows. It was quite covert. It wasn't as openly displayed. So, a Mardi Gras, a gay parade, gay actors on TV, a big gay marriage, a fucking, protest of gay people at a gay club. This kind of behavior and activity doesn't happen before World War One. So the point is that if you get the most immoral, decadent, degenerate, foolish, evil, psychopath person before World War One, and you go up to him and you tell him, we're going to get kids, we're going to mutilate their genitals, we're going to send them into schools and teach them how to have gay sex with each other. We're going to get them to play with rubber dildos and go on their homework sheets and talk about it with their classmates, and then get them to cross-dress and then make them do it to each other and talk to the teacher while they're doing it with each other. That degenerate individual before World War One is going to look at you and say, I thought I was the most fucked up thing in the world, and now you're telling me this is what they're going to do to children in the modern education system? To mutilate them and sexually pervert them and turn them into androgynous gay freaks? What in the actual fuck is going to happen? He would be convinced, just saying that Satan would have been ruling the world. Because before World War One, atheism was not a thing. 99.9% of all human beings that have ever existed have believed in a higher spiritual deity. From Buddhist perspective, in a dharmic heavenly world, Abrahamically through one God. It could be even Mesoamerican, Aborigines or Indigenous Australians or Maori Polynesian, a nature worship or ancestor worship. There's always been a spiritual belief. So to go to anyone before World War One and say, we're going to turn the education system into a child sex center, they're going to hear that and say that the evil one, the Dark Lord, now rules education. That's going to be what they'll think if you tell them this.
Well, I mean,
The fact that but that's what they're going to think. Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. There's so many layers that I can go into this, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's fucking.
So, on one note, right, if you go into, say, Satanism, right? You go into Satanism, right? A big thing in America, right, with Satanism is that most of the Satanists are usually on the spectrum.
Oh,
meaning
really?
the sexual spectrum.
Oh, sexual. I thought you meant the autistic
No,
Satanist.
maybe.
So,
Who knows on that one. But in terms of like what I noticed, right, a big thing for them is advocating for gay rights and all this stuff like that, right?
yeah.
But a lot of if you see a lot of the movement and videos and documentaries, bro, it's very much about politicizing gay rights and stuff like that, right?
Fuck.
So that's interesting that they're a part of that, right? But again, I'm not even. That could be a different layer that I am unaware of how deep that goes, the rabbit hole.
I'll put it like this. Satanism is about rebellion, so they're just rebelling
so you're
against the modern
rebelling
normal.
against,
Yeah,
the churches and stuff, which is interesting because this kind of, I guess, what you would call now, instead of a movement, it's turning more like a fucking religion, right? Because now, if you go to churches, you'll see stickers everywhere. We accept you for who you are loved. You are loved for whatever it is that you do, as long as you love people, right? And this is where I'm at, right? In this whole ideology thing. There's so many different ways you can go about it, right? One, I had a strong feeling that the whole reason why they're trying to push this so much, right, is for one, I think it's a way to stop people having babies, because the less people are straight, the less chances they're going to have babies, right? And you're going to be like, oh, why? They'll do this. No, because think about it, right? How much people are now openly, gay, trans, whatever, right? Because of all this propaganda. A lot, right?
Yeah.
That's-
Heaps, 100%.
Yeah, a lot of people are. And another thing too, right? In terms of indoctrination, right? Why is it that they're teaching kids in primary school about how if you feel you're a girl, then you are a girl. Or the fact of the matter is that, you have a lot of this whole thing like, oh, you are whoever you feel you are, or whatever, like that kind of attitude. Why is that? Because the more confused you are, right, the less chances you're going to have sex, right? And another thing too, right? Why would they want to push this towards kids, right? Why would they want to do that? I think it's a way to coerce them into these ideologies, but also because if hypothetically, right, we go into a society where, say, sexuality is not going to be as taboo, and neither is gender, because we are going to be genderless. Fucking wild, right?
Androgynous,
Genderless,
yeah.
right? Which
Yeah.
means that the idea, if you become genderless, it means you overthrow God, right? Because these gender roles are what? Given by God, right? This idea of the
They're,
protector, this
yeah.
idea of you're the nurturer, you're the blah, 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 right? So maybe, what if one day, right, these gender roles aren't a thing? Now, women are working more than men, right? Why? Why are they doing that? Because that way, they don't want to have babies, right?
Well,
Why would I
that's,
want to
yeah.
have a
No,
baby? I want to work. I want to get this money, babe.
yeah.
You know,
There's that. There's a distortion. There's a great distortion, which again, which you were just saying that if everyone's androgynous and the sexes are jumbled, mixed up, and confused, then of course it's like God is what they refer to, is the ultimate asexual. God is not meant to have a gender. If we turn everyone asexual, everyone agender, and all androgynous, everyone becomes God. And the whole mantra that a lot of those who are pushing it claim to be in deep occult circles is that, oh, if we can all become our own gods by trying to be like God, then we can overthrow God, which is something that, on a much deeper level, that's what they talk about.
yeah, but
The
even
thing that
oh, I was just gonna say this, right? This, and then I'll end it. I'll like in terms
yeah,
of end of what I was gonna say.
yeah,
In terms of the movement, right? After you become genderless, after that's happened, right? Then hypothetically, if they have synthetic wombs, synthetic fucking sperm, all this stuff like that, then they don't need you, bro. You know, they can create their
mm,
own fucking society of clones, bro. That are asexual, right? They don't need you anymore, bruv, you know? So the
crazy.
nuclear family would be destroyed. Guess what? Mom and dad are not going to be in the picture anymore. Guess what? Dad,
Mm,
not even in the picture because them are going to take over. Because them
yeah,
are genderless fucking people, you know?
mutants, mutants. No,
But yeah, go on, what you saying?
it's. I want to elaborate further on that point. There's a complete distortion, not just with what gender is now, but also just what sexuality is in general. Because people are using the term love is love. This is the most wildest thing because from someone who actually has studied theology at university, from Buddhism, Christianity, and looked into Islam, Hinduism, and aspects of Judaism and other pagan folklore, ancestral beliefs, and nature worship, I will say that ultimately love is a form of compassion. Even though love can mean a sexual thing for procreation, generally speaking, love is a likeness of compassion, meaning it's unconditional love. The form that they use nowadays is that love is only a sex thing, a sensual pleasure use. I have love because I need to have sex. The reality is that in a big historical context, love is used for sharing compassion in a much more deeper, somewhat romantic, of course, but in a much more deeper bond, and not so much a big sexual pleasure seeking pattern, which nowadays they have massive tangents about. their entire movement isn't even about loving each other. It's just about getting away with endless amounts of
Sexual
premarital sex. It's basically endless amounts of premarital sex. Their entire movement in the modern age, it's not about love. It's a distortion of love. They just want to get away with having endless amounts of fucking sex. That's literally all they want to
It is a
do.
lust movement.
And
If you think about it, like that's what the whole thing is about. It's a lust movement. You know what I mean?
it's a lustful movement. Like, you know what I want you to tell me something about the gay flag. I can share screens with you if you want me to show you a picture of the rainbow flag. Would you like me to do that?
I've seen the rainbow flag, but what's the
Yeah,
addition?
sure. Okay, well, yeah. Do you know how? So you would know that the rainbow flag, typically the LGBT version, it has 6 colors.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
what do the colors represent? I heard that each one represents something different, right? Like
that's
like
correct. But
lesbian or whatever, and
yeah, it's
blah blah
the
blah.
colors represent their thing. The point is that there's 6 colors. Do you know with an actual rainbow, it's actually meant to be 7 colors?
What is your point, though?
My point is that they grabbed the original meaning of the rainbow, which is a 7-colored spectrum that comes up in the sky, and they distorted the rainbow to suit their own movement. They don't even do a proper rainbow. They changed the whole pattern of the rainbow. They changed the spectrums of light. Like it's pretty wild, but the spectrums of light are meant to come in at different angles, depending on, from what angle you look at a rainbow or whatever. They got the rainbow and they completely distorted what a rainbow is naturally meant to be, which is that it's obviously what's a ray of light coming in from the sky, but it's meant to be 7 different colors, and they added only 6. It's like, why would they take out one of the colors? It's like, it's showing on a much deeper level, on a religious sense, in the Bible, God's ultimate form of expression and love for the world is that he shines rainbow onto it when Noah's flood ends. He shines a rainbow onto Noah as his expression that he loves the world. And what does the gay movement do? It grabs the biggest thing that shows God's love for Noah and it distorts it and takes the aspect of God's love and makes it a sexualized concept and then takes some of the colors out. Like, I know that sounds far-fetched, but it's just the fact that they pick the rainbow, which is the ultimate expression of love in its purest form, which is worshipping God, and then it takes it and it sexually distorts it, takes out the part of God's love, and then adds 6 colors instead of 7. It's literally, now again, I know it's like the androgynous part is just as good for making a society that controls people as asexuals. That's a good part too, where they can't have babies. But just the fact that it also can represent that it's supposed to be an attack on God's form of love is a very other, more esoteric reason for the LGBT homosexual gay movement. It's actually an attack against God's love. That's a unique
take on it, though. I've never heard that before.
Yeah,
like in terms of Noah, how the rainbows were here because of a representation of him. I never heard that before, but that is an interesting take. You know what I mean? Like,
because I can show that a rainbow has 7 colors. It has traditionally 7 colors. If you look up at the sky and you see a big rain cloud burst, you will see 7 colors.
Yes,
7 colors.
In this definition, right? If hypothetically, right, LGBTQ plus, or whatever,
and then there's
right?
I think it's
5 or 6, right?
Yeah.
And if there's 6 colors of the rainbow, then those 6 colors are meant to represent each whatever sexuality. So the 7
colors, 7 colors of the rainbow.
7 in rainbow, right? But there's 6 on the flag, right? That's what we've established, right? So the 7th one, would that be straight people?
straight people. Well, that's the thing,
Like
though,
in the
because
flag representation, right? Because think about it, right? You said that there's six. There's six color. Because again, I have not counted. Maybe we should get the flag
that's.
to actually count it.
Do you want to
But
get the flag? I'll get the flag.
yeah, might as well get the flag, right? There's six
We do.
colors, right? There's six colors. Each color is meant to represent like a certain aspect of whatever sexuality, right?
Yep.
So here we go. Let's look at the flag, bruv.
I'm going to type up the gay flag. All right, we've got a gay flag. All right.
Right. Now,
Okay.
we're talking about the original gay flag, right? So I'm thinking
This.
the new ones just we added extra shit to it, right? They've
This
added
is-
extra shit to it. This is the
Of
original,
course.
right? So there's six.
Sorry, yeah. I'll go back to the original. Yeah, I'll go back to the original. This
We
was
can go to the new one, but I'm just pointing
Yeah.
out there's six here, right? There's six colors there, right? There's seven colors to our
1979.
rainbow,
Yeah.
but there's six colors here, and each color is meant to represent a certain sexuality, right? So with the
So they say.
seventh color, the seventh color would be fucking, you know, it'd be straight. Like I assume
Yeah,
that's what it's
seven.
meant to mean, right?
Yeah. So there's traditionally, yeah, there are seven. There are seven colors in a rainbow. Seven colors in a rainbow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In the LGBT, there are six. Six. And, of course, as I just said before,
Oh, of course, it's gonna be six.
what is God's sign that he loves the world? At that, just there. God's sign that he loves the world is the showing of the rainbow. God's sign that he loves the world is that he shows it a rainbow. So just like that, in the craziest, craziest thing right there, is that the rainbow is seven colors. Just so as God showed that he loves the world and he will never flood it again. And the LGBT movement specifically removes the color, I believe it was indigo. They remove the color indigo and they distort the meaning of the rainbow, which is God's love for the world, and they make it six as a means to sexualize and pervert the compassion that God has. That I know, again, as I said, I know that's an extremely, weird. It's a weird take, but like, it's just showing that this whole gay agenda thing. It's not just to androgynize people in society and atomize them and polarize them. It's on a deeper level to rebel against the creator.
Yeah, I think that the gender and sexuality should be two different movements. I
Yeah,
honestly believe that because of the gender politics in it, it's becoming more about that than it about about gay rights. And
But
that's
when I was saying that, I meant as in sexuality and gender is just as in it's like as in it should never be like the trans thing is different as in like that aspect, like sexuality is tied with gender. Like if it's gonna just be separate, transgender is like something else is what I was agreeing. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on that. Basically, I'm agreeing.
I mean, obviously, you can't have sexuality without gender. Obviously.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
Because then, just like I was saying before, the terms of like they them makes no fucking sense if you're labeling any sexuality. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like, I do get that, but in terms of like, their causes and the reason why they're fighting for and all this shit like that, it's completely different. You know what I mean?
Definitely. The fight or the struggle for their sexuality is like something that is brought by the modern age. This is basically where, not for the trans stuff like I explained for the hermaphrodites, but the origin of what being gay is just that sometimes people are gay, sometimes people are lesbian, sometimes they're bisexual. They'll do guys and girls. And then there's, of
Do you
course,
think we
most
should be
people...
open about it? I think that's a positive thing for
Do you want...
to a certain extent.
My opinion is that, and this is going to come off as, oh, now you're being a Puritan. I generally believe that no form of sexuality should be displayed in public. No one should display sexuality in public. And I know this is very Puritan. This is a very Puritan take. No one should be just expressing any form of their sexuality in public at all. So not even guys and girls should be kissing. No one should be doing it in public.
I agree, but like it really like, how can I say it? It depends on what your definition of that is, right? If you're holding hands with your partner and you kiss them, whether you are gay or straight, I think that's perfectly fine, bruv. And that's what I meant by being open and being accepted. If I see two guys holding hands, kissing, whatever, I'll just be like, oh, yeah, good for them. You know what I mean? And just go on with my fucking day. If I see a guy and a girl kissing or two girls kissing, same shit, bruv. You know? Props to you, you know?
If it's a kiss, it's a kiss and a peck on the cheek. I meant like if they're making out in public. Like,
I mean, if one's giving a hand job or whatever, that's a bit fucking extreme, bro. I don't think anyone should say that shit, you know?
There's clips on Twitter and Insta on the beach with couples making out over and over again, and families have walked up to them and said,
yeah, come on,
can you stop? Can you stop doing that in front of my kid? Like, and then they just throw water on them and shit and throw sand on them or whatever. It's like, you know, it's like, if two people give each other like a kiss on the cheek and they want to hold hands, okay, it is what it is. Even my Puritanism is like, oh, even I'm a bit, but I get it. I get it. They want to kiss on the cheek, they want to hold hands, okay. If they're going to make out in public, I'm not going to lie. I used to, whatever, but then, of course, lately become a lot more religious than what I was.
There should be a time period. You know what I mean?
Like time period, I guess.
Time, you know, with a whole bunch of kids on the beach and stuff like that. You shouldn't be trying to, like, you know, see how far you can get. You know, I think that's a bit extreme, bruv. But if it's like 10 p.m. at night, bruv, and there's like 4 other people,
I get what you
know what I mean? Like, good on you,
I understand.
Go nuts, you know. I think that's in terms of publicity wise, in my opinion. But
publicity is a point. I want to make this clear. I don't care if 2 gay dudes go off into the forest park, national park. I'm not going to get into the men from Brokeback Mountain or whatever. I'm not going to men Brokeback.
Go out in the bush, bruv, and try my bush.
Out of the bush. Yeah, get in the ute. Let's go.
Fucking go Wolf Creek on each other.
Oh, it's going to be getting a lot more than... Yeah, see, I think necrophilia, necrophilia in general is where...
Could you imagine them trying
They want a Jeffrey Dahmer.
Okay.
They want Jeffrey Dahmer.
Could you imagine that, right? Like, imagine putting that, like, fair enough, incest has been throughout history, right? And I get that, royal families, all that shit like that. Bestiality,
bloodlines,
it's the same shit. It's been throughout history, bro. People pay for this weird fucking thing, right? Same as pedophilia. But when it comes to the other one, bro, it's like...
Necrophilia
is like... You know, like, it's, like, all of them are bad. I'm not saying, like, there's a tier list of what's better, but I think if there were a tier list, fucking someone that's not alive is probably going to be there on the bottom, bruv, you know?
You'd, for the most part, you'd really fucking hope so, but, you know, again,
what would the marketing be for that? Oh, guys, people that don't breathe have rights to... she gave me consent before she died. You know what I mean? Like, how would you monetize that shit? Could you imagine them doing a fucking... you know how they have smoking commercials and shit? Where they're like...
It's like Ted Bundy, like...
Yeah, it's like
Ted Bundy commercials.
Like, you know?
It's like you get... I'm just thinking... I had... Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy in my mind for like a split second. I was just thinking, you know what? I think we could all... I think we could all agree that eating and fucking a dead body, it has to be the lowest tier. If pedophilia is bad, I think eating and fucking a dead body, Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, has got to be the lowest low.
I don't know,
Like,
bro. There's
yeah,
got to be an age bracket too, bro. You know, like if you're
yeah.
eating like a body that's like, like this is how fucked up this conversation's gone. But we're
I mean, it
talking
can
about it
get
now.
worse. It
But
can get worse, man.
like if there was a tier, like you know how they have tier lists above like subsection,
Yeah, S
subsection,
grade, S
subsection,
grade, F grade. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Imagine like if there was a tier list of like say bestiality, incest, all this stuff like that, right? And the worst one was necrophiliac, right? And then there was a tier list for necrophiliac of age, right? Where they're like, well, an old lady. And then there's a
Oh,
kid, and then there's fucking teenager. You know what I mean? If there was a tier
oh.
list for that too, bro, like, where does it end, bro? And would that be part of their campaign? Like, oh,
You
it's
would
okay,
have to
we're only
hope
eating old people, like we're only fucking old people.
they'll have all these things distortions.
Oh my god.
You'll get they'll like there's this thing that they show pictures of these fitness girls getting their German shepherds to have sex with them. I'm like, I don't I don't want to understand it. I don't know how bad it gets, but I will say this: sexuality at least according to Sigmund Freud, right? There's a psychological part to sex. So I know the gay agenda is the main political aspect, which is fair, and I'm going to get into how, before Stonewall, how it became a thing just in a moment. But
Yeah.
Sigmund Freud says that all forms of psychology, what just referenced, Sigmund Freud he's the father of psychology, modern psychology anyway, okay? Sigmund Freud is the father of modern psychology.
One of
And
them.
Sigmund,
Yeah.
yeah, do you know him or you don't know him or?
No, he's one of them. There's
Yeah,
many,
one of
but
them.
he's one of
There's
them.
100%. Carl Jung's up there, Nietzsche's up there. There's many different Adler's up there. That's correct. I like Carl Jung. Carl Jung's got
Yeah.
fucking wild shit. Carl Jung's the inner subconscious. Anyway, the unconscious. But yeah, the thing with Sigmund Freud is that he says all forms of psychology are determined by sexuality. And it's actually quite a profound statement because certain individuals, you can tell what their behavior in life is like and their will to do things and how they handle a aggressive or passive display based on what their sexuality is and how it actually determines it.
I mean, it does make sense. There's a huge thing that talks about like how very powerful people like to be humiliated and how it's the opposite when people have zero power. You know what I mean? Like there's that whole thing where like the Stanford experiment. I know it's not the same as sexuality, but it works on the same principles where say for example the if you don't know, it was like this fake prison experiment where they had some people act as like prisoners, the other people act as guards, and then the guards started getting like a fucking ego power trip or whatever because they never had power and now they have power. It's the same thing where it's like say somebody that is very passive in life, you know what I mean, and then gets in a relationship and becomes very aggressive in the bedroom because you know what I mean. It's like their untapped shadow self. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing that you were saying before. Like, a lot of their desires in life comes from their sexual patterns, bruv. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or,
Whether,
you
yeah,
know?
all these things, whether they have one partner, a few partners, or like hundreds of partners, they might just sleep with someone every day of the week, and some of them, they won't sleep with anyone at all. It's like, you'll have all these different expressions and forms of sexuality being displayed, and then the ways that they will have sex and what they'll do, like you said, dominant or submissive, whatever. There's so many ways that can have people express their psychology based on their sexuality, and that's the whole thing. Is that's just more of the esoteric, psychological, spiritual side of things. The political part of it, which is again the whole gay agenda thing now is it it's reached its point where you have, just for reference, they show videos of Western gay pride parades, gay marriages, Mardi Gras, um, cross dressers, transgender people, and fucking even furries and shit like that. And they show these themes to Chinese, Russian, Iranian, and North Korean combatants and say to them that we need to kill the Westerners because this is what they're going to do to us. And they see the footage of the gay movements in Mardi Gras, gay classrooms, gay marriages, all these transgender pride parades, and they see that shit and they show them to their soldiers and they're like, holy fucking shit. They actually do this to kids and they do this to their people in general. And they're like, if we ever go to war with the Western world or whatever, well, for one, they're like, we don't need to worry because we're going to be fighting a whole bunch of transgender gay people. That's one of the things that they tell themselves. They're like, don't worry about their soldiers because they're all gay and they're all transgender, dressing up as furries all the time. So that's one thing they tell themselves. The second thing is they literally said, according to the video that Dan Penner posted, he's the $50 billion man, you know. So like Dan Penner is basically like that the Chinese and Russians literally say that the Westerners we're literally fighting a bunch of fucking fags. That's pretty much the end game. They want to distort sexuality to the point where you can't use your unique sexuality to express love for a higher form. At the same time, they've indoctrinated you to be basically like a worm. You're basically like this sterile worm that just uselessly consumes shit and feeds your government endless amounts of energy and tax. They found a way to siphon your energy, and that's what they're doing. They're leeching off your energy. They're siphoning all of your emotional, sexual energy, all your gratification, your dopamine, all your energy is being siphoned by distorting your true sexuality and by politically playing with your mind and indoctrinating you with this gay agenda shit. That's what I believe their ultimate goal is. So definitely, yes, you're 100% on the money where the Weimar Republic of Germany with a bunch of gay Marxist Jews using the Talmud practice to completely twist sexuality and pervert people and indoctrinate them with all this weird shit. That's 100% on the money there.
Well, here's an interesting take.
But you keep going,
right?
yeah.
What you were just saying then, right? If potentially everyone becomes like this genderless version and they're just like kind of like different, right?
Yeah.
It's funny because you were saying before about sexuality and how potentially it becomes more like whatever sexuality, whatever kink they're into or whatever, that turns out into their personality, right? Comes out in their passions and stuff like that in life, right? So therefore, if you're in an asex, like, because how does it happen, right? How does it happen, like in the sense where, how can I say this, right? If I'm a passionate person, right? I'm passionate about this, blah, 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 then I might be influenced in this, blah, 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 right? And then if I have none of that, then I have no passion, right? I have no this, that, blah, 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 right? I think another aspect to that,
No, you're on a roll. Keep going. You're on a roll there.
like, how can I say, fuck, I had it and then I lost it, bro.
You'll get it back.
Basically, if potentially you have no I guess thrive anymore because you don't have sex anymore, because I think to the point of where it gets sexless is when everything has to get fully degenerate, just like you get desensitized from every fucking thing, right? Because you've gone into the depths of the dark fucking whatever, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, you hit a point, right, where it's like, fuck, bro, this is bad, right? We should eliminate this shit, right? And then you become
100%.
to think that sex is like a sin, right? At some point, right? And then socially you condition, like that will condition people to become nah. Like we can have
Mm.
artificial wombs now. Maybe make everything about companionship, blah blah
Well,
blah.
yeah.
It's not about having fucking marital
Uh-huh.
relations or whatever. It's about
Exactly.
working and building our society and all this other shit that goes along with that. So maybe that's a part of it. You know what I mean? Maybe this is
Well,
just the
definitely.
cycle of it, where you have to get more and more degenerate, more and more people conditioned to live these lifestyles, right? In order for them to become so desensitized that they don't know how to operate in a dating format. Therefore, they produce less. Because even now, they're not having sex. People are not having or maybe they are, but like people not having babies as much as what they used to.
Well, that's one
Part of
thing.
that is
People definitely
economy,
aren't having babies. Yeah,
but yeah,
that can be agreed upon. People are definitely not. People are only having sex for gratification. They're not even having sex because they love their partner anymore or having children. They're having sex based on the premise that they just want to get a bit of sensual pleasure and get a high. That's sex is only happening for that one purpose. It's not even like I want to have a kid with you. I want to love you because you're good. It's like no, I just want to have sex with this person, and it's like, and even then, they'll distort it, and this will be how that sexual energy is siphoned. It's siphoned, and there'll be there'll be just a complete leeching of that energy, like parasitism. It'll be like that energy will just be sucked out because it's the passion. That energy, that sexual energy, is a passion, and that's what they've done. Those mystics or poets, that some of those poets, they wouldn't, again, they would channel that energy, and they would, I just mentioned before, there was Walter Whitlam, there's Oscar Wilde. It's like they would channel that energy, and they would, you know, they'd pretty much, they wouldn't express their sexuality by constantly doing it all the time. They would channel it in different forms. Even Leonardo da Vinci, guess what? He was gay too. Leonardo da Vinci was gay. He was a great artist, He was channeling his
a lot of liberals are
sexual.
though. A lot of liberals are.
Yeah. Um. Even Nikola Tesla says many times. Nikola Tesla. Now, don't get me wrong. Nikola Tesla wasn't gay, but he did chase himself and retain a lot of his sexual energy that helped him become a brilliant scientist and innovator. Nikola Tesla was amazing. In fact, you've got Albert Einstein who literally says, it's like, I'm not the smartest person in the world, you'd have to ask Nikola Tesla. Einstein literally believes Nikola Tesla was the smartest man that ever lived. Forget Stephen Hawking. He's. But look, but not to rip into him, but like Nikola Tesla says, sexual energy is retained, and it can be used as a passion to do higher things. When it's not making a family, it can be retained as a passion to do other things. And nowadays, because of all, like we just said, desensitization, they've got people wasting their sexual energy because they're so desensitized to sexual content. And as a result of them being desensitized to instant gratification of sexual content, instead of channeling that sexual passion and energy into useful things through a process of sexual transmutation, they call it, they squander it and they waste it on endless amounts of OnlyFans thoughts and pornography, because feminism empowers women, doesn't it? So when you get a whole bunch of women having endless amounts of promiscuous sex, you get a whole bunch of people in society misdirecting where their sexual passion and energy should be going. This is how we ended up in such a fucked up place in the modern world. Because the sexual passion and energy of society has been distorted and redirected in the wrong direction. Again, I could just be talking shit, who knows, but I'm just saying.
No, I think you brought up a good point, Bav, but I feel like on the flip side, right, if we do end up in this dystopian future where people are sexless, right, does that mean that society, right, like, is it a mental condition coercion thing? Like, you've just been convinced society's just approved this because we don't need it as like an output or whatever, right? Whereas, like, do you become sterile, or is it a natural? Do you get what I mean? Like, does your body
I'm getting
and
you.
become like spermless because you don't need to develop sperm anymore because there's artificial sperm and they're creating bodies like that? Or, right, in this society, right, you are repressing those feelings, right? You have a pill or some shit that
Yeah.
represses those feelings, right, of lust and stuff like that. And just like that movie Voyage, you know what I mean? Like eventually those fucking pills he didn't take, and then, you know, starts feeling testosterone for the first time. Maybe it's the same thing, you know what I mean? Like, maybe that's what happens, you know, like the breakout of fucking 2055 or whatever, you know. Like, oh my god, we become sexless, and then now we're realizing that we can have sex again. You know what I mean? That's could be a re-emerging thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of sexual revolution.
They got these things happening. They have to, because what is now being realized is when sexuality is controlled, they control the psychology as well. So by controlling sexuality, they ultimate control psychology. This is how the whole, as you just, the gay gender thing all ties in together. The energy of that society is, it's all determined on that base level. Like, for instance, in militaristic societies, generally speaking, men are given a lot of the power because the nation needs to have strong men having as much sex as possible to allow for that society to engage in militaristic behavior. That's how it becomes big and strong, like big empires. You got to put the man first. Got to have a father figure. You got to put a big, strong man first and foremost, and everything has to line up behind him. One of the key examples was the Roman Empire and the Han Dynasty. A man was put at the center of everything, and it was very clear that his wife had always had to be subservient to him in both the Roman Empire and in the Han Dynasty. It's quite evident in that case. And of course, obviously, in later eras, people have also made the big deduction is that in particularly the religion of Islam, it makes it very clear that men are given a very prominent role, and that for the most part, women are to be subservient to men in almost all regards.
Well,
For
you know
that,
oh,
yep.
sorry, go on, go on.
No, and it just as a principle, like with both the Roman Empire and the Han Dynasty, even within the Islamic faith or the Caliphate, men are to be given the utmost priority as a father figure, and that women, just like I just said with the Romans and the Han in China, is that the women have to serve the men in all regards, and it's very same with the Caliphate in Islam too. I know it's a little bit off topic, but it's all just like trying to manifest the sexuality of a society to serve what its purpose is. And that's just a militaristic example. There's other examples too, but go ahead.
Yeah. No, I do think from an energy perspective, that's an interesting take. My take, I was just thinking, like, how much like in a society where like women don't have to carry babies, right? In this new dystopia, women don't have to carry babies the natural way. How many women would want to have babies the natural way?
I'll tell you right now, a very small amount if it's given to them.
Yeah,
Very
if somebody
small
said,
amount.
"Hey, you
Yeah.
can still have a baby, but guess what? You don't have to give birth to the fucking thing. You can just put it in this little chamber, and guess what? Nine, like 9 months, whatever, it will pop out, and you don't have to feel the pain, right?" On the one side, there's no like, oh my god, she destroyed my body coming out, or he destroyed my body coming. Like, there's none of
Mm.
that, right? Women get to keep their
Hmm.
body, right? And like,
Yeah.
oh well, whatever, right? But on the
And for
flip
the most
side,
part, she can even survive childbirth as well. So
yeah,
it's like, yeah.
yeah. But
It's a
on the
key
flip
thing.
side, what
Mammals
is
and,
the
yeah.
what is the emotional side to that though? You know what I mean? Of
Look at
not,
the behavior. Look at the behavior of reptiles. What does a reptile do? A reptile lays eggs. What does a mammal do? A mammal gives live birth. Look at the behavior between a mammalian mother and a reptile mother. Two different behaviors. It's a biological thing now. But it does tie in with the gay gender because would a female Homo sapien, as in species of mankind, would the female rather lay an egg? I know this is beyond what the gay agenda is, but we have to, we're here now, so fuck it.
yeah,
Would a female mother of a Homo sapien rather be a lizard lady and lay an egg and leave it in gestation as an egg in a nest to gestate under the sun for some many months and go do her own career while her egg is gestating on itself. She's already, she just had to feed it for a bit, and once she plopped out the egg and laid it in the nest, she doesn't have to touch it, you know? Would she rather do that for instance, a penguin or a bird?
yeah.
Or would she go back to being a mother and giving a
That's
birth?
that's another thing too. From that analogy, would they have to sit on the so-called? Because technically, what is the egg? The egg is an
Incubator. It's an
incubation
incubator. Yeah.
incubator womb. That's what the egg
Yep.
is, pretty much. Like one
Hmm.
mammal has it inside the what's the other word? Has
Yeah,
the
there's a
egg on the
word for
outside.
it. Yeah, there's a word for internal one and an external one. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, if a mammal has an internal womb and the other reptiles have, uh, they lay the egg or whatever,
Yep.
whatever that sort of bird is or whatever.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, like I think the psychology behind if a woman was to do that, right? Because that's what feminism wants, right? Women work,
Yep.
more women rights and all that stuff.
Hmm.
The ultimate woman's right would not have to have a man that they have to rely on, right?
Yep.
To
Yep.
have a baby without having the pains that a baby comes with. You know what I mean? But also on the flip side of all this stuff, like if you look at statistics when it comes to like who's more happier in marriage versus who's not, like men are usually more happier in marriage, right? According to statistics, than women. You know what I mean? Like that's a big part of it too.
Interesting. That's interesting. No, I find that interesting because I actually came across a statistic that almost said the opposite. That women actually were happier in marriage than men, and that men were actually happier alone, and that women were actually more depressed alone. That was one I was reading.
See, I've heard that too, right? But in this
Yeah.
statistic thing that I read, it was saying the opposite. You know what I mean? It was saying that men are more happier overall because they're providing and because they're looking after a family and it gives them a sense of meaning and purpose. Whereas
Hmm.
on the opposite scale, right, when they don't have these things, then they become meaningless and they don't have a purpose and they feel like they don't have much of a drive. So it comes back down to your sexuality thing too. So, but for
It's good you
women,
say that.
it's completely different. You know what I mean? Because if they it's because everything's based on feelings, right? The moment that they have a feeling attached to a baby, right, it becomes their whole world, their whole identity. The
Yeah.
moment that they don't have a baby, right, then it's just like whatever I feel like I want to do in that moment, I'll do it. You know what I mean? There's more
It's a
freedom
good
aspect to it.
it's a good thing that you mention this because it does explain why, if you want to talk about the gay agenda properly, you need to talk about the feminist agenda to get an idea of the gay agenda, which
It's
is a fair point.
it's a
But in
subsection.
regards, it is. It's a subject in a sub-subject, yeah. To get that proper with the subtopic, an example would be displayed by the so-called nomadic tribes and can possibly even be explained by that of, let's say, migratory peoples. Some would have referred to some of the maybe the Gothic Germanic tribes or the Hun tribes that attacked Rome and whatnot. And one element can simply come is that the Hunnic peoples or the Proto-Turkmen and the old Germanic peoples who were pagans, mind you, they had things where they elevated their women to high status, but at the same time, the chieftain tended to take as many wives as he could get. A chieftain could just take as many wives as he could get, and it was polygamous. It was polygamy, right? In these other societies, such as I said, the Hun dynasty and the Roman Empire, they had monogamy. There's only one couple, so one male, one female. Now, there's a thing here with the reason for why the migratory tribes are in a polygamous relationship and can have multiple partners, and the stationary, stable, sedentary cultures that have agriculture and are in, stationary in the one urban area can only have one partner. The reason behind that is, well, is for one, it's survivalism and birth rates. What this means is that mammals in general tend to have the female pass on 80% of females pass on their lineage. Only, roughly speaking, 20 to 30%, in fact, I think even less, 20% of males in the mammalian group pass on their lineage. What this shows is that with mammals are polygamous. You have one big lion, one alpha male lion, that fucks 80% of all the women and leaves 20% left over for all the other beta
AKA
male lions. Yeah,
Genghis Khan.
it's a Genghis Khan situation, basically. What is happening is that for animals and nomadic peoples, that's what tends to happen. A big chieftain he's a giga alpha male giga chad. He takes 80% of all the women, and less than 20% gets left for the younger men. What happens is that when the chieftain dies, and all the women are left over, they say something where, oh, I'm only holding off for my alpha male. So when all the younger men come, they say, I'm only holding it off until I come across a big chieftain alpha male who's worth my time. In monogamy societies, that shit doesn't exist. Because for one, if you try and get away from your male partner, the state will punish you for it. You can't just get away from your male partner. And if you try to, well, within particular parts of the world, at least even in modern days, some of them, but throughout history, if a female tries to do adultery or go away from her male partner, she could potentially even be killed for doing that, because she's technically subservient to him. The point being is that polygamy is basically suitable for very flexible, nomadic, moving groups of animals and peoples and whatnot that like doing the whole, more freedom of choice, we get to choose, blah, blah, blah. But it means that our society fluctuates more. It fluctuates more. For instance, the reason why you don't hear of the Hunnic people or the Gothic people anymore is because as soon as they migrated, their women got too many preferences and their birth rates started to slowly die out. And when their women kept holding off for the Giga Chad that never came, the birth rates got so low that other groups of people stepped in and then conquered them in the end. Because what happened on a civilized level is monogamy keeps a stable birth rate. Polygamy means when the Giga Chad comes, he gets all the girls, and when the Giga Chad dies, all the women who have a higher social status, we're holding it off until another Giga Chad comes. They don't have kids. The population birth rate dies off because now the women are holding off until they get the perfect Giga Chad alpha male. So the polygamy societies die off, and all that's left are the monogamy societies where the woman has to serve her husband and has to basically keep having kids for him. So basically, that's the society that survives, and all the other nomadic polygamy chieftain societies keep dying off. And that's basically...
Isn't that interesting how Abrahamic faiths preach that, though?
Yeah. There's a reason they make all of the women subservient to their husbands, and for good reason. For good reason. Because, truth be told, if the birth rates get any smaller, we won't have a civilization because women won't be having any more kids. That's just a fact. We won't have any more kids. We're not going to have a civilization. We're not going to have any more kids. There's going to be no one left.
Well, technically, if we have DNA invested in machinery, which is already happening right now,
that's the thing.
We're the pre-programs of cyborgs, right? So potentially humans are going to become humanoids, and then from humanoids, because that's the greatest transition ever. Oh my god, I got myself
a robot, bro.
Into a fucking robot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. It could be a gay robot.
Yeah.
Hello, I am.
Like, the moment that we fully merge with machinery, like,
oh man,
what is that? What that would be like a new sexuality, bruv, Like those cunts that marry the fucking robot or the hologram or whatever it is, bro. Like those motherfuckers are gonna have their own movement that might add on to the plus. Maybe that's the plus. The plus is technology, bro.
We'll be taking transhumanism to another level.
Yeah.
Transhumanism is going to get to a point where they're going to put your conscious in a machine when what you should have been doing was being like a Zen Buddhist, a Sufi Muslim, or an Orthodox Christian monk, and you should be praying all day, trying to reach enlightenment and get your soul to go to heaven by, trying to unify with the divine love of the spirit and the divine love of the soul within, and be chastised and fast all the time and be mystical and meditate and go to heaven. Instead, you're going to put yourself in a machine. It's like, come on.
Yeah, but
you're too good for a machine.
Would religion still be a part of that? Like, think about it, right? If you have a brain, right, and you're in technology and you fucking can basically, make calculations of whatever.
The AI god, the AI god.
The AI god, right? If the AI god, right, if that was implanted in us and we could have a thought and then the subsection thought of what the AI thought and then cross-reference that with something, whatever, blah, 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 then if we're fully submerged with that, who would we pray to? Would you still have religion? You know what I mean? Because you are already somewhat godlike,
You'd have what in Warhammer 40k they refer to as the Omnissiah. He's the machine god, basically. It's just like is the AI God. It's the Omnissiah. It's the singularity that they're referring of singularity, where they reference that if they can merge the consciousness with a machine, it hits the point where it's perfect. The reality is that, at least what I believe, is that only God is perfect. And that we're all imperfect, but we can learn in this life to be perfect by elevating our spirit, reaching the divine. But of course, if a machine already does that, it's going to make it a lot more harder for everybody. Because, well, you'll get to a point where your consciousness is going to rip. It's going to be sucked into a supercomputer, which is the AI machine god, the AI god of singularity,
That's what
or
they want to do.
your spirit is going to, if you avoid the gay agenda, transhumanism, robot crap, you're going to be like, listen, Lord, I'm sorry, I'm going to do fasting proper. I'm going to pray every day. I'm going to hold off having a wank all the time. Okay, and holding off looking at Instagram thoughts. And I'm going to fast all the time and pray. And eventually, what will happen by fasting and praying all the time and using my sexual energy to elevate myself, I'll actually elevate my own soul in an astral projection and leave my body and actually go into another realm. And at that point, I've basically got like I've discarded this fleshy existence and taken my whole energy into another dimension entirely. I know it's a bit whacked out,
I mean,
but
that's
of course,
borderline like it's a mixture between full enlightenment and suicide. Like that's what it sounds like
it
to me,
sounds
bro.
it sounds like it is suicide, but in reality, it's it's the death. It's okay. It's the suicide of the ego. It's the death of the ego and your physical body of flesh, and it's the liberation of your soul. So your soul basically leaves your body, but not through death, through the divine enlightenment.
Merging, yeah,
Your
divine merging.
soul reaches a point of perfection where you'll just float up. You'll like evaporate and float up and leave your body once you've reached that point. And you'll go into the higher realm of existence, which is much better than this place. That's your choice. I know this is super schizo shit, but you got to understand. You're a vessel right now. And sexuality is your one way of expressing where you direct your energy. You can choose. Do you want to get linked up to a big clunky machine and have your consciousness in that? Or do you want to try and unify yourself where if you're reached a point of enough death of your ego and become one with your spirit and your ego has been discarded, you can unify with your soul and actually leave your body and go to a higher realm of existence. It's up to you guys. Like, I don't make the rules. I'm just saying that all these guys have been trying to unify their sexuality with their spirit and not be so addicted to worldly pleasures and heaps of sex and lustful, you know, stuff that the gay agenda overdoes. So you got to think of it like this. You can choose between having endless orgasms with a robot, or you can hold off having a wank and you might go to heaven. That's the bottom line.
I
You can
mean,
have you can
I mean, that's an interesting way to put it, bruv. You know what I mean? Like,
the
you could
hottest
be,
take. That's my hottest take.
but on the flip side, like if you're holding it in for the rest of your life, right? And you
Yeah.
don't use it, and you use that energy for whatever creative endeavors, right? I
Hmm.
mean, potentially, maybe you reach that full enlightenment. Maybe you transcend spiritually. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like you still have to do like in Buddhism they say, like desire is suffering, you know what I mean? Like suffering is because you have desires or whatever, right? And then the moment you become desireless, that's your end of your suffering. And usually that's the end of your life, right? So on that context, right, then if your ego is completely buckled, and does that mean the two people that survive in this dystopia are the ones that have transcended, where they become so enlightened because they're not having sex anymore, they're not self pleasuring or whatever, and they've gone through this and they've reached a level of enlightenment because they've become more spiritual, versus another subset of people that have merged with machines, right? Therefore, they have an instant partner. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they're becoming their own kind of subsection of people where they have babies using their DNA,
Yeah.
but it's not in a actual womb, it's an artificial womb. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's pretty much that's the end game, which has now been perfectly summarized. I know we've gone from the gay gender, but this is how we really get to it. We break through the physical sexuality that we have by unifying the masculine and feminine self, by unifying the masculine and feminine half of ourself. We dissolve the ego as we unify our masculine and feminine half. And when we do that and fully dissolve the ego, we can then basically become a light body. And at that point, we don't have to serve this physical machine that traps our consciousness. And that's more or less correct in when you said we can still exist as a spiritual being here. The reason it'd be good to have a romantic partner is just to, work with ourselves better and have someone help us with. It's good to have a partner with us. It's good to have a partner there to help us get through our thing. That's true. That's what most people have done, obviously. That's how we've survived. Procreation. But at one point, what will happen is they're going to draw the line and say that your natural existence as a Homo sapien can no longer be continued. It's now going to be discontinued. When that happens, it will be like you'll choose between this machine that will hijack your consciousness, or you're going to have to start praying and fasting and holding off having a wank and go into your light body and go back to a heavenly realm with God or the deity that you pray to.
Why can't you have, like, what, women
Yep.
in this supposed, like, they don't want to have kids anymore? Like, is women exiled from this process?
The women in this process, which one of them explained, in some Buddhist thing I read, they talked about tantric sex yoga, where they can apparently, with a certain special partner, they can have sex with each other and they can actually share their sexual energy and both liberate each other. Which was the wildest thing that I ever came across. How two individuals can share a special relationship where they don't have kids, but apparently they prolong an orgasm for a long enough period of time by having constant sex with each other that they can actually elevate their own consciousness by prolonging that orgasm to a point where they can generate enough romantic energy to both elevate their spirit and liberate themselves by sharing enough loving sex energy. So it's, I know your head's gone buzzing. You can imagine what I was thinking of when I was reading this shit.
Nah, like, I'm like, it's just it's interesting that we've gone
It is.
from transhumanism to, speaking
Yeah.
of tantric yoga. You know what I mean? And how
Yeah.
energy is distributed. And in a dystopian future, we're not going to have sex because we don't need to have sex, but then we're going to have tantric sex as a
Yeah.
way to elevate energy.
That is more or less what can definitely happen. Tantric sex yoga that can be used to elevate. sells energy. There's ways to have sex that
I mean, it would be it'd be an
it'd be
interesting
vile.
idea in terms of like imagine the spirituality with that shit too, bro. You know,
Oh
would that be
man.
a whole new religion in itself, bro? You worship
Well,
each other in
what
that kind of
from what I've
context.
from what I've been looking at, and I'm not going to get into now, but this is the part of the gay agenda that's beyond this topic. That's what apparently occult groups that are genuine mystics and some of the good guys do, is that a lot of the bad occult groups try to. Alright, this is. How do I explain this part without sounding like a complete fucking sicko? Okay. The reason why this gay gender thing and sexuality is so fucked up is because it ties in line with how they get energy. So apparently, ritualistic sex rituals can generate enormous amounts of energy. Now, I know it's going to sound super fucking wacky. I looked at some weird shit. Hear me out. I'm not trying to be a dickhead. I know this. We can cut this all out. I'm just going to tell you because you've asked it now. So, alright. There's two ways of doing this. One is very good. One is very fucking bad. Okay. Apparently, in these occult groups, they do know that, again, you can go and have sex with a partner and you can even jerk yourself off, whatever. That's one way of expressing your sexuality. Have a partner, have a kid, or jerk yourself off, whatever. Two ways of it. The other, of course, as I said, there's a mystic way where you retain your energy and you meditate off with it. Of course, the robot way, which is later on feeding your energy to a mechanical being that sucks your life energy, that's one way. But then these two other ways, which is, again, the tantric sex yoga part is a good way that some groups perform these ritualistic orgies where they, again, romantically share this divine sex energy. By prolonging an orgasm, they don't release their sex energy, so they don't fully they don't ejaculate in the sense where they ejaculate and have a kid, but they have a prolonged orgasm, and then by prolonging it long enough, instead of ejaculating, the energy goes straight up their spine that they call the kundalini thing, and then they empower all their body's energy by doing this, and they do it by sharing the sex with each other. That's one thing, the tantric sex yoga stuff. The other method, which is the distorted perversion of it, and I shouldn't even say it because it's so fucked up, but fuck it, we're here now. Hear me out, this is the weirdest shit I've read.
Just say
So,
it, bro.
okay. They kidnap someone, they get possessed by an entity, okay? And they're possessed by the entity. Apparently, they rape someone while possessed by an entity, and allegedly, the entity or demon in them is transferred through sex energy. So when they're raping someone, they're putting the demon in them into the person that they're raping. And then, after that, they have actual mind control over that person. And then, when that's happened, they perform a sacrifice on that person, which gets a whole bunch of really chaotic energy that they can use to then perform something. That's how all these fucking weird occult groups get their power. Through sex, through distorted sexual sacrifices. They get a whole bunch of individuals, they rape them over and over again, apparently putting spirits into them like a vessel. They rape them and rape them and rape them, and they fill them with a whole bunch of negative energy, and then they sacrifice them and it releases all that energy, and then they use it to cast a spell and give themselves power with it. It's the most...
This sounds like Alistair Crowley shit, man.
It's what every single black magician, sacrificial black magician has ever done through the beginning of time. a sex cult sacrifice. They get an individual, they rape them, they then sacrifice them, and then they summon a whole bunch of black magic energy, and then they use it to they basically steal that person's energy, because once they've raped them and they've killed them, that energy returns back to them, and then they can control it and use it to do something.
I mean,
It's the most distorted shit. I shouldn't have even have fucking said that, but
I
here
mean,
we are, and I'm
I
fucking
mean,
whatever.
I think that concept is pretty fucking wild, bro.
That's how they do it.
I'm not saying that it isn't like a practice, bro. It's
No,
obviously
no, no.
a
That's how they
practice.
run things.
But
That's exactly what they said they do. I'm not even kidding.
in terms of like how this would fit in, like the dystopia sort of thing, bro, I think that's on its own a different thing. But
It's on its own. I know the part's a bit wild, but yeah.
But on the flip side, I think yeah, our conclusion on this show, guys, I think
I know.
we've reached it. We've reached it. We've gone to different levels. We've analyzed many different theories, and this is how we've reached to the middle way, bruv, where we're
So,
transcending
yeah,
energy and we're creating our own
you,
source
yeah.
of power, bruv.
Keep in mind, the reason they have power is because they're doing these rape sex rituals. They kidnap people. They put their sexual rape energy in them, and then when they kill them, they get to take their energy back and use it to form a spell. It's the most distorted shit. It's why they have sex trafficking. That's why they have all these shit all over the world. It's how they're able to do it, because the sexual energy in that part is the most powerful thing that you can use. But they distort it because they're all a bunch of perverted freaks and weirdos, and they're all gay, and they're all fucking weird gay fags. So it's, they're all a bunch. They literally they fuck them. All politicians do this every day. I know. I had to say it. Politicians are kidnapping people, raping them, and then using them to perform sacrificial black magic every day. I said it.
I mean,
Fuck.
I don't debate it, bro. I don't debate it. I feel like there was a story that I seen in Australia. There was this guy who was caught in a cemetery wearing some funny things on his body, and he said he came from a meeting, that of a special meeting where they were doing
I'm sure
some
it was.
ritual. So like it, I'm not going to debate that it doesn't happen, but in terms of like, yeah, I'd say it is like all that shit would be a part of like the emergingness, I guess, of spiritual warfare in that sense. You know what I mean? But yeah, it'd be a different world, bruv. I think that's my take on it, guys. I feel like there's so many ways it can go. There's so many ways it can go, bruv. And in terms of like where it's headed and where it is, and yeah, you decide, guys, because we've gone all over, bruv. We've talked about the history, we've talked about the present, we've talked about the future, and then we've talked about other alternative methods, bruv. Okay, so
We should never do.
just you guys do your research and let me know what you think, bruv. Like, comment, sub if you've gotten this far, and
stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We out.